Hello everyone, I hope that today is going great. Welcome back to our regular Thursday lectures. Today we've got lots of exciting things in store for you. But before we get started, let me just briefly introduce myself. As some of you may already know, my name's Victoria and I'm the Outreach Coordinator for Education USA here in Ukraine. We are, of course, part of the global network of the US Department of State, which consists of over 435 international student advising centers in more than 180 countries. As the official source on US higher education, we always offer accurate, comprehensive, and unbiased information about opportunities to study at accredited colleges and universities in the United States. We understand that the process of applying to US universities is rather different than that in Ukraine, so we are here to help you every step of the process and answer all of your questions from beginning to end. Today, we're going to focus on applying for financial aid, in particular with the help of the CSS Profile. Have you ever heard of it? Have you ever come across the College Scholarship Service Profile, or in short, the CSS Profile? To those of you who do not know, the CSS Profile is the application for college financial aid that is required by many undergraduate institutions in the United States. The filling out of the application often leaves international students with a lot of questions. So today I'm delighted to present our lovely speaker, Mеттью Шованеком, International Director for Middle East, Northern Africa and Turkey at College Board, who is going to talk about some of the key points of the CSS profile form. Mеттью, it's such an honor to have you here with us. I'm delighted to see you. Please take it away. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here with all of you guys as well. Thank you for having me. My name is Mettью Šovanekom, and I work at the College Board. So the College Board is a nonprofit organization. It's been around since the very beginning of the 1900s. And back then, we started with the SAT test, which was a way for universities to have one streamlined process to admit students to their universities. And ever since then, we've grown to become an organization that provides all sorts of opportunities and tools to connect students from high school to college. And now it's great because we used to be an organization just in the United States, but now we are a global organization. So we are all over the world. We are here in the Ukraine. I wish I was there physically with you. I'm here in Washington, D.C. in the United States, but at least we're able to communicate using Restream. So that's awesome. And I'm going to talk to you guys today about one of the newer tools that we have to help students connect to education, specifically education in the United States. And that is the CSS Profile. So if we could go to the slide here, perfect. I just want to run through this first couple of slides really, really quickly, just to give you a little bit of an idea about what I was talking about when I said that we are all over the world. So if you go to the next slide, please. The SAT test, which is our college application, it's a test, it's a college readiness assessment. You can see here, you can take it almost anywhere in the world. This data is a little bit old, but you can see we've got test centers in all over the world. I was just with a group of students yesterday in Algeria talking about the CSS profile. We have students in Australia, we've got them in Brazil, we've got them in Finland. So everywhere around the world, you can take this SAT test and you can use it to apply to universities in the United States. Secondly, we have our AP exams on the next slide, which I'll just skip, but that's another program that you can take many places around the world. And then on my third slide here, I just want to show you guys quickly before we get started, a higher education recognition school. So we're going to focus on the United States today. We're going to talk about financial aid for the United States, but I also want you guys to know that we also have our AP courses, our SAT exam. We also have that for more than 700 universities outside of the United States as well. So anything that you guys are doing to plan for your education is going to work for no matter where you guys want to go. That all being said, let's focus on the agenda for today on the next slide. We want to talk a little bit about U.S. higher education and financial aid. It's a confusing system. Everything about America is confusing because we don't just have one standard system. We've got different systems in each state. And then on top of that, we each university deciding its own policy as well. So there's all these different patchwork of rules and regulations that we have that. So we want to talk a little bit about how financial aid works in general, and then about just college pricing and financial aid trends in the United States as well. I'm sure Victoria does a great job talking about this already, but we're just going to reemphasize a little bit about that. Well, what are we talking about when we're talking about applying for financial aid? And then lastly, I'm going to actually show you our tool for CSS Profile, how it works, and a little bit of the details about how you go about filling it out. So let us start with defining the terms for U.S. higher education. On the next slide, Victoria. So again, there are different types of financial aid, okay? In our wildest dreams, Harvard calls us on the phone and says, we're paying for everything. We need you to come here right now. But usually it's a little more complicated than that. There are many different types of financial aid. So there is non-need-based or merit-based, and that's the ability that has nothing to do with your family background or how much money you have. It has everything to just do with your skill. So when you apply to a university and you show them how incredibly you have done in all of your courses, how high your SAT grade is, and all of your extracurricular activities and your letter and recommendation, they're going to say, wow, that's amazing. We really want you to come to our school. Here is free money that we want to give you. And that's merit-based. You should already know that. And then there's need-based, which is an evaluation of your family's finances. And one of the themes today, what we're going to talk about many, many times, family does not necessarily mean mother and father. There are all different types of families. Sometimes people live with their uncle or aunt. Sometimes they live with a grandparent. Sometimes they have a new father or a new mother that is their main person. There's all different types of families, but whoever that family is that supports you, the people in your life who support you financially and with all the other needs in your life, we want to know about them in order to give you need-based financial aid, okay? So those are the two types. And then there are the two types of aid that universities usually give. There's grants and scholarships and gifts, and those are things that do not need to be repaid. The University of Texas will say to you, we want you to come so badly. We're so excited for all of the amazing things that you have done in your high school in Ukraine. We want you to come here. Please consider this a gift of money that you don't need to pay back so that you can come to this university. And then there are loans, and those are things that are also great because you can get a good interest rate on them, but they are things that need to be paid back. Usually loans, this second part is usually from American banks or American institutions. The American government will oftentimes give loans. Those things are less eligible for international students. Most times, if you were taking out a loan, it'd probably be from a Ukrainian bank or Ukrainian organization. So we're going to focus mainly on we're going to focus on the need-based part of this, and we're going to focus on the grants and scholarships today, okay? If that makes sense. So on the next slide, let's talk a little bit about another thing that we need to keep in mind when we are applying to school and we're thinking about financial aid. And that's that the price tag for a university in the United States is the price tag for the classes that you're taking. But it's not a price tag for everything else that's going to be involved. So when you go to a university, of course, you have to enroll for your classes, but then you've got to pay for whether you're going to live in a dorm, and then you've actually got to eat something for the 4 years that you're there. You can't go the whole time without a snack. And then there are the indirect costs too, which oftentimes you won't see, and they also really, really depend. So when I went to university, I mostly got away with not really having to buy a lot of books. And the way that I did that was that I borrowed the books from the library, or I borrowed and made copies for my friends, or the professors would actually send us a lot of digital copies of books. But nonetheless, sometimes you are going to actually have to pay for books. Then there is transportation. I don't know about you guys. I've been to places in Eastern Europe before. You guys have fantastic subway systems. I believe that Kiev has one of the best subway systems in the world. Not the case in the United States. If you're outside of Boston or Washington, D.C., where I am, or New York, you're going to need a car. And that's basically if you're going anywhere else in the United States. So that's something you also have to think about. That's going to actually be a cost of that. So you need to make sure that you're focusing on the net price, not the sticker price. There are a lot of other costs here associated with it, okay? And now let's talk a little bit just about, on the next slide here, about what we're actually talking about when we're talking about prices, just to give you a little bit of a context of the actual money that we're talking about before we apply. And of course, I'm sure you guys know a lot of this already because you're here and you want to learn about financial aid. But let's take a look at this. This is, again, this is about 2-year-old data, but it is still pretty useful. This is the average estimated full-time budget. So the dark blue on the left was the part I was just talking about, what it actually costs the tuition to go to a university. And then the room and board, where you're staying and what you're eating, that's the light blue. And then the other things like how much it costs to have a car, how much it costs to have books. We did a really nice summary here to give you an idea about what it is for each one of these different types of universities. So at the top, you see a public 2-year in-district commuter. So we have in the United States what are called community colleges, and they're a great option for people who want to spend their first couple years learning the foundations of their major closer to home. So oftentimes they will live at home. So you'll see the room and board here is usually much smaller, and they're also much cheaper universities. And then on the flip side, private nonprofit 4-year on campus. So this is when you're talking about going to a small liberal arts school like Middlebury College, or if you're talking about going to one of the Ivy Leagues. These are wonderful, absolutely amazing schools. They're dream schools, and they also come with a nightmare price tag. They're much more expensive. So that's something that you also want to keep in mind too, that not all universities cost the same. There's all different types. And that is something when you look at one of our programs that we offer, Big Future, when you're looking at universities, it's a really good idea to get an idea of what their average price is for universities. So let's see. I'm going to skip a couple slides here. I want to skip down to number 16, Alexandra, the one that starts with plus 1,000 universities awarding aid. I'm going to skip all this stuff. Yes, this is what I wanted to look at, which is all to say, universities in the United States are a major financial investment. Of course, they're all worth it. It's fantastic to be able to come to the United States to study. But for a lot of them, for people around the world, you're going to definitely want to know, what they offer in terms of financial aid. Usually, sometimes it's going to make the difference between whether or not you can go, right? So one of the first things that I recommend, and you can go here, there's a link on the bottom right-hand side, cb.org/international financial aid. We've got this great Excel spreadsheet that shows all these different universities in the United States. And then if you look at these columns here farther to the right, it's going to show you exactly how much these universities offer to international students in financial aid. So for example, let's say you wanted to go to, let me see here. I think all of these ones do. But let's say you look up a university, you've got your heart set on it, but you need financial aid to go. You look at our list here and you see very quickly, they don't offer any international aid to any financial aid to international students. Well, then that's kind of a non-starter, right? So you want to make sure that you're focusing on the universities that are considering financial aid for international students. And then you can look at 2 more really helpful things on this chart. 1, how much total financial aid does the university give to international students? That's an important number. And then even more importantly, how much per capita? So per student on average, how much financial aid do these universities reward? So if you can find universities that are more generous, that would be very, very helpful for you to know right off the bat, even before you start applying for them. You can take a look at this chart and see. So once you've got an idea in your mind of the universities that are in your price range, and then which ones that are giving you the financial aid, and you've got a good idea of your general budget. Okay, you've got these universities in your mind. Then if you want to apply for financial aid, you can go to our next slide and you can use the CSS Profile. And this is a great tool because it's available to international students. So we have something in the United States called FAFSA. And FAFSA is an application that students will use to apply for financial aid at all universities. So when I applied for university, I was applying to 7 different universities, and I showed the FAFSA. I shared all of my financial information one time, and then all of the universities that I got accepted to were able to give me financial aid offers based on the information that I had given in the FAFSA. And that included scholarships, and that also included loans. The FAFSA is not available to international students, and so the CSS Profile is a good substitute for that, because when you apply for financial aid, you're going to have to do a lot of work. I'm just going to tell you this right up front. There are a lot of documents, a lot of financial statements, a lot of numbers and information that you're going to need to provide and it's a headache. It can be a lot of work. So we want to make sure that you only have to do it one time. So if you use the CSS profile, you are submitting all of your financial information. You're giving us a complete idea, a picture of who you are, who you live with, what they own, how much money you have, but you only have to do it one time, and then we will send it to all the different universities that you want to apply to, okay? So it's open now. It's available October 1st every single year, and it's used by almost 400 colleges to help reward scholarships toward non-federal funds. And by non-federal funds, I mean things not provided by the US government. So it helps universities see how much financial aid international students need. And it also, very importantly for you guys, for international students in general, it allows families to give the aid officer important information about themselves in the special circumstances section. So oftentimes when I present on the CSS profile, people want to write in the comments, yes, but I need you to know I live with my aunt and she lives on a farm and we make money by selling apples and blah, 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 all this extra information. That's all completely fine. Whatever it is that is your specific life circumstance, you will have in a space at the end of the application to explain it, I promise, okay? So it can be done by any student in the entire world, including you guys, and it is a great place to go. But before you do it, there's 400 colleges and universities that use it. Not every college and university use it. So I would take a look and see the list of schools that actually accept the CSS profile before you start. If none of the universities that you're thinking about applying accept the CSS profile, it's not worth your time, okay? Think about that. But if it is a few of the universities that you offer, then you can, okay? So let's go to the next slide here. So the team that put together the presentation today did a very nice job. They created a link to the CSS profile. Right here, you can scan that QR code in the top left-hand side, and it'll take you to this website that I'm going to show you right now. It's the cssprofile.org, and it is a great place that you can go to not only learn about how to do this, but to actually apply for it. So if you look at the next slide, you can see exactly where you need to go to get started. We did a little red arrow there. And then this is also going to show you, so I'm going to take you guys on a very quick tour of the CSS profile and talk to you a little bit about what you need in order to apply and all this type of stuff. But for all of the specific details, come to here to the helpful tips and resources. There's even now a video on our website for CSS Profile that's a really nice introduction to it. So everything I explained here today is all explained in much more detail, but also in nice summaries on the CSS Profile website. So worry not, there will be opportunities for you to look into more detail about all of these things as you go forward and start to do it on your own, okay? And then on the next slide here, you'll also see the instructions on learning where to apply, okay? It'll also have information here about international applicants and about fee waivers, some information about divorced or separated parents. There'll be all that information for you to learn it as well. If you look here on the next slide, you can see specifically the international students. Again, we have another text here describing to you, like, there are specific universities that are very interested in giving financial aid to international students. And you can look on that list, that again, there's the highlighted right there, and you can click on it and see exactly which universities do accept the financial aid for international students. Also, these universities, because they are awarding financial aid to international students, they understand that the financial situation, not only of you, but of the country you live in, is unique. And so they're gonna take that into consideration. So one example that I give sometimes is Lebanon. Lebanon in the Middle East is a country, unfortunately, that has had lots of terrible issues with inflation and its currency. And there's a difference between the official rate of inflation and the black market or actual rate of inflation. And those two numbers are very, very different. So when a student is applying for financial aid from Lebanon, and they're telling these universities in the statement at the bottom of their application, hey, I'm giving you all of this financial information about me in Lebanon, but I need you to know that it's actually this black market rate and not this else. A very, very specific financial situation specific to Lebanon. These universities are going to understand and recognize that. Okay, so before you worry that they're not going to understand not only the political situation in Ukraine, but also the financial situation in Ukraine, these colleges will. And we make sure that when you're applying, you're putting all of your information in the Ukrainian currency, not in US dollars. So if the currency value changes, anything like that, they're going to have the numbers that you put in Ukrainian currency rather than US dollars so that they can keep that context there. So again, all of this stuff is specifically set up to help you as international applicants present the picture of your economic life in the context of being a Ukrainian student. Okay? And then again, when you click on these colleges on the next slide, you'll be able to see this nice chart that we have, which is the CSS Profile participating institutions and programs. So when I said, like, make sure that the universities you're applying to are actually using the CSS Profile, here is where you can check. And you'll just go to right where that arrow is. It says CSS Profile International Students. If it's not on this list, if they say no, then this is not going to be one that you're going to be able to use for the CSS Profile. So make sure that you keep that in mind. And approximately, at least a couple of years ago, you want to check it out and see right now, but approximately 170 programs and institutions requested the CSS Profile from international students. So there are 3,000 universities approximately in the United States. This isn't going to be all of them, but it is going to be some of them. Maybe you're going to want to choose universities based on this because you want to have financial aid in order to go to the universities. This is a great way to check. Okay. And just to make you guys feel more confident about this, we have thousands of students applying from around the world using the CSS Profile. So more than 190 different countries apply. So when you're explaining the background of what it's like for you in the Ukraine, you're not the only ones. There's definitely students from lots of other countries as well that are using this. And in order to apply, it costs $25 US for the initial application. And then each additional school that you want us to send this information to, it's $16. So let's say you're applying to 4 universities, it would be 25 plus 16 times 3. So that's how much it would cost. And you can pay that with a credit card, which is great. That makes it a lot easier. And then one more slide before I give us some other information. So we send your report immediately to the university as soon as you pay it. And then the college will be able to look at the results, and then they prepare a statement about what their financial aid award will be, and they send it directly to you. Okay, so we send it off, we package it all up in the way that they want, and then they're going to reach out to you directly about it. So I'm not going to go into each one of the slides and show you exactly how to fill out the application today, because like I said, step-by-step instructions are available on the CSS Profile website. But I know every time I give this presentation, students have a lot of common questions. So I'm going to answer those now, just to make sure that you guys have them all before we even get to Q&A. So first question, what is the CSS Profile going to want to see from you guys in terms of documents? So each country is different. But basically each country is the same in that it has documents and paperwork associated with the following things. So your parents, the people that you live with in your family, the people who take care of you, they oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes they have a job, and their job is taxes are taken out from that job to pay the government. And that is called a national or a federal income tax. And then the government sends a receipt basically of that tax form. So for the last 2 years, we're basically going to want to see that income tax return. I'm almost positive that tax return is going to be in Ukrainian. So you're going to need to have it translated and a notarized translation, an official translation, and you're going to submit the original form and the translation of this tax form. Okay? And then we're going to want to also see a record, some sort of paperwork about untaxed income and benefits from current and previous tax years. So what do I mean by that? Let's say your parents own stock. And by parents, I don't mean necessarily your mother and your father. I mean the people who care for you financially. Maybe they own stock. Maybe they make money from a restaurant that they own. Maybe they have a farm and they sell farm products. They sell eggs and tomatoes. Anything that your parents do to make money or have their own money is growing from investments. They've got stocks. They've got a retirement fund. They have investments in real estate. Any and all things that are part of the financial life of the people who take care of you, you need to have some sort of paper record for that you can have translated in English that you can share with us so that we can share with the universities. We need proof of all of these things that you're saying. So on the CSS profile form, it's not just going to ask you how much money your parents make a year from their job. It's also going to ask them about all of the other ways in which they have money. So for me, for example, if I had a kid and they were applying for college, they would want to know about the value of my home. They would want to know about my retirement investments. They would want to know about my 401k, which is like my retirement fund through my work. They would want to know if I own any strange things, like do I own any horses? Do I own any boats? Anything that I'm benefiting from financially, they're going to want to know about it. And when you actually go through the CSS profile, you'll see we ask a lot of specific questions. Let me see. Bank statements, we're going to want to see how much money you have in the banks, and by you, I mean your parents. So like, let's say you don't own your home and you only make, a few $1,000s a year, but you have $4 million sitting in the bank. Well, we're going to know about that, and you're going to have to provide us information about that. So we'll want bank statements, a record or a receipt from your bank telling us how much money you have in your bank. We're also going to want records of savings, bonds, trusts, things like that. So again, anything financial, we're going to have some record about it, and we want to have a copy of it in English, okay? And there'll be really, really specific instructions for each one of these breakouts when you go to the CSS profile. And you'll also be able to see before you start the process great instructions about all the different things that they're going to want from you, okay? The second really big question that people have about the CSS profile is your parents. What do we mean by parents? And I've mentioned this a couple times now, but I will say it again. Everybody's family situation is different. Not everybody lives with their biological mother and their biological father. We completely understand that, and we give you so many opportunities to describe how it is that's working out. Let's say you have a biological mother, but you have not seen from her or spoken to her in 10, 15 years. She hasn't paid for you in a long, long time. She's got nothing to do with your life, mentally, emotionally, financially, nothing. You have to list her. She's your biological mother, my biological mother, but you don't need to provide any financial information about her because she has nothing to do with your life financially. But if you live with your maternal grandmother and she's the one who supports you financially, then we need to know everything about that grandmother. Similarly, if it's uncle, aunt, if it's your neighbor, if it's a family friend, anybody that is responsible for raising you and taking care of you financially, we need to know about their financial lives, okay? That is the same for siblings. Sisters, brothers, half-sisters, cousins, anyone that is like tied into your life, we're going to want to know about that as well, okay? And we're going to want to know basically the last 2 years of your financial history and your most up-to-date financial picture of your life. So again, this is a picture, a moment of time of your financial life that we're taking a look at. It's not going to be totally exhaustive, and it's not going to be everything, but it's basically what is your most recent information that you can share with the university in Ukrainian currency so that they can see this good picture of how it is that you have. Also, make sure that you know that like this is your initial. Sometimes a university will give you money for all 4 years. They'll give you a guaranteed amount. Oftentimes, they'll just give you a financial award package based on that year, and you'll need to reapply every year and give them different information based on how your life changes. So at least this first time around, it's based on your financial situation today. Okay. I'm going to answer just a question from here from the chat. Let me see. There's a question in chat about the currency of hryvnia. That is
no worries, I will just read it out. So we've got a student with us who's wondering about how to correctly present their financial situation. If they have already used other currencies than hryvnia, would they need to convert it into hryvnia, so Ukraine's official currency?
That's right. So yeah, you're going to want to you're going to want to say the country that you're applying from and then use the currency of that country. So then, yeah, you would, if you had currencies in other denominations, you would then put them into hryvnia so that we can see, because the universities are going to convert hryvnia into US dollars when they're doing the application.
Thank you so much for your answer, Matthew. And we've got another question from Tanya, actually. So Tanya is wondering whether she will need to certify the translation of the documents, or whether maybe an English teacher or somebody else who really knows English well could provide a translation.
So you will want to have a certified translation of that. Otherwise, it's not an official document.
Thank you so much for your answer, Matthew. And we've actually got another question from Tanya. So Tanya, thank you so much for being so active today. And Tanya is wondering, if one of the person is a private entrepreneur, then in which column should she enter her income, earn from work, or income from business?
Great. So you would, as a private entrepreneur, she's the business owner, then it would be income from business.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your answer. And thank you, Tatiana, once again for your lovely questions. And we've got another question from a student who's wondering, when answering questions about how we're going to pay for the college, is the question only asking about tuition or the net cost of attending this university or college?
Yeah, so the university is basically, most of the time, it's giving you money for its tuition. In rare cases, would they pay for extra stuff? Usually that would be some sort of extra scholarship. But usually university, when they're giving financial aid, it's for the cost of tuition.
Thank you so much for your answer. And thank you to our wonderful students for being so active. So we've got actually another question from Maru, if I'm not mistaken. And Maru is also wondering about a situation in which she is currently in a different country, but since she is originally from Ukraine, would she need to convert the currency into hryvnia, so Ukraine's official currency?
Yeah, so that'd be the one we do. So what is your main country? Which country of residence? What's the one that you're applying from? That's going to be the one that you're going to want to have everything in.
Thank you so much for your answers, and thank you for such a lovely presentation and for sharing insights into the CSS profile and really giving an in-depth look into what are some of the typical questions and common mistakes that students often make look like.
Of course. And of course, I will say one last thing. There's a lot of information. It's going to be confusing and challenging for you guys. That's great. Just do your best. Oftentimes when you're applying for universities, it'll always say at the bottom, I have answered these questions to the best of my ability. You're not going to go to jail if you answer one question wrong and you forget about some farm stand that you have. This is about doing the best that you possibly can based on the information, being honest, getting all the information together. Sometimes there'll be very, very specific things that'll be a little bit hard for you to do. You're doing your best. The university is also going to do its best. It's going to try its best to make a sense of all the things that you provided and then try to work out an equation for that. But it's not an exact science. This is about financial aid. The most important part is that you guys are being excellent students and that you're providing reason for this university to want to do everything in its power to get you there.
Thank you so much for your answer, Matthew, and for sharing words of encouragement to our students who are doing their best to learn the intricacies of the CSS profile and really make sure that they get the best possible chance of receiving financial aid from a US college or university. And we've got another question from Elena. So Elena is wondering, what if a student moved in the past 2 years and the documents that the parents are able to provide are in 2 or more different currencies?
So you again would want to have that all back to hryvnia.
Wonderful. Sorry for asking
No, no.
repetitive questions, but I wanted to make sure that all of our students clearly understand what they need to do. And we've got another question from Sergey. So Sergey is wondering, some colleges require both parents to complete the application, but in his case, how can he have both parents complete the application if he hasn't seen his parents for over a decade, so they're divorced?
If that parent that you haven't seen in over a decade has not provided for you financially over these last 10 years, that's not someone who we need information from. We only need the financial information from the people who are actively, and by actively, I mean in the last 2 years, actively supporting you financially. Providing, and when I say actively providing you financially, the one last thing I'll say too, they're clothing you, they're feeding you, you're living in your house. If you go to a private school, they're paying for your private school. That's another thing as well. Do they pay for a car? Do they pay for anything in your life in any single way? Then they are supporting you financially. Otherwise, you don't really need to have their financial information just because you're related to them.
Thank you so much, Matthew, for such an informative answer. And I would just like to encourage Sergey, if you've got any more questions about applying to the US or the CSS profile in particular, we are more than happy to help you and provide you with the resources and information that you need. You can always sign up for a free consultation with Education USA advisors, and we will be sure to guide you through the process and make it seem as smooth as possible. And we've actually got another question from Vika. So Vika is wondering, is it possible to get financial aid for both tuition and the net cost, so additional expenses?
Again, that sometimes is less common. Most of the time it is for the tuition. There's no limits to what a university is willing to be able to do to get a student there, depending on the application that you're giving. Are you an absolute rock star? Have you single-handedly cured cancer? Well, then a university is going to pay for every absolute thing that you want. But most of the time, a university is actually only going to be providing, on average, about 11% of that financial aid. So, of course, there are all kinds of dream scenarios. It's a little bit like winning the lottery. My cat is here. Don't worry about that. Many of the times, we think about like, okay, I'm going to win the lottery and I'm going to be able to go to university for free. Most of the time, though, it's about getting some financial help to go to a university. It's much less common. And of course, it totally depends on your own performance and how you're, thank you so much, how much you're doing in order to get it. So it all kind of depends. But again, if you single-handedly can build a rocket and fly it to Mars and land people who are going to be there, then you don't even have to worry about money again. Every university is going to want you to come. They're going to pay every single last thing. But otherwise, there's going to be some money that you're going to need to provide. Because at the end of the day, no matter how brilliant we all are, America is an expensive place.
Thank you so much, Matthew. And to all of our students here with us today, I would just like to encourage you to check out Education USA and our different resources available. We always post up-to-date information on scholarship and grant opportunities that are available specifically to Ukrainian students and that may be of interest to you and may help you save up significantly on your tuition costs or provide any other financial resources for your other requirements and needs when studying in the United States. So we've actually got another question from Uliana, and Uliana is wondering, is there a limit to what a parent's income can be so that a student can apply for need-based financial aid?
That is a really hard question to answer because what a university considers to be need really depends. You can, of course, be reasonably thinking about this. If your parents are millionaires, you're not going to be getting a lot of need-based financial aid. You would be getting merit-based financial aid. Those are two different things. So there's not like saying that you wouldn't be getting international financial aid, but it wouldn't be based on your financial need. What exactly that cutoff is, I can't say because it depends on each university and it depends on each country. But the best thing is to provide the most accurate reflection of your financials as possible. And if a university sees that you don't have a financial aid, well, at least you tried.
Thank you so much, Matthew, for your honest answer. And thank you, Liana, for being with us and for being so active today. And we've got another question from Sergey. So Sergey is wondering whether alimony payments count when it comes to providing information about your financial situation?
Yes, there will be questions about like child support, alimony, things like that. They will ask you.
Thank you so much for your answer, Matthew. And thank you once again, Serhi. You're a rock star. You're so active today. And if you once again have any more questions about any aspect of the application process, our advisors are always available to help you free of charge. So you can sign up for a consultation or online or at our office in Kiev, and be sure to receive accurate and really comprehensive information on all of your needs and questions. So, okay, very good. We do not seem to have any more questions, but one question I often get from students who are currently in the process of filling out their CSS profile is actually about providing an accurate picture of their current financial situation, seeing as over the past several years, a lot of students and their parents have had their financial situation change drastically due to the war, and they fear that the financial statements they can provide does not accurately represent their current situation, because some parents have lost their jobs or have lost their homes or have had to move and leave the country and stay perhaps at a different country. And once again, how can these students correctly and accurately present their situation and account for these possible losses or devaluation of property that has been lost or is currently in occupied territories?
That is exactly what the last section of the CSS profile is for. It is for explaining those things that can't be captured by the questions we've already asked. Fortunately, almost everyone in the United States knows about the situation in Ukraine, so they're already expecting that your situation is going to be unique. But we provide an open paragraph, no multiple choice questions, an essay where you can basically write in any of the information and provide that context. And they want to hear that story, and there are things that can't be captured in just numbers, so they provide a space for that. No matter what your situation is, whether you're living in Lebanon with the inflation or whether you're living in Ukraine with a war, there's that space for you to provide that context. So again, a bank statement is giving some information, but maybe it could be something that's like not being captured by it. That's what that space is for.
Thank you so much, Matthew. We really appreciate all of your support here today. And I know I speak for all of our students when I say that it's great to have all of these questions answered and to have an expert on the CSS profile giving accurate answers on what the university is looking for in the application form and what additional information we can provide with our situation in Ukraine. So I guess my final question would be, are there any common mistakes that students make and that can hurt their chances of receiving financial aid?
Yeah, so common mistakes would be applying for the wrong academic year, entering important information incorrectly, like you report the student's name, it's different than the one on legal documents, not reporting, reporting parent information as student information, inaccurate birth years. In the United States, we do something very strange. When we write out the date, we write month, day, year. That is probably the most common question, most common issue. Make sure that you get the day and the month correctly, because we do it weird, we do it backwards. And then answering questions about your status incorrectly. So sometimes you forget about reporting the student has dependents. So sometimes the student has children. Sometimes they forget to mention that they themselves are married, or that they are a veteran, and that sometimes they select a graduate school instead of the college's undergraduate program. So sometimes when you're applying for university, make sure that you're applying for their undergraduate program.
Thank you so much for all of your answers. It's been lovely getting to talk to you and learning from you. And I immensely appreciate you taking the time to really speak to the students and give them an accurate picture of what the CSS profile actually looks like. And it's so lovely to have a fantastic co-speaker with us today. Your lovely guest. Just, I don't know, brightens up everyone's days, I feel like, and also gives a lovely levity to today's meeting.
Yeah, he's happy. Pamuk is happy to be part of this.
Yes, it's lovely to have both of you here with us today. And to finish off the session, I would just like to encourage our students to persevere, to keep believing in their dreams, and to not hesitate to reach out to Education USA with any questions you may have, so that you can get an accurate representation of what the application process will look like and get all of the answers to your urgent questions. I guess we've actually received one final question today from Anastasia. So
and Sergey answered it.
And Sergey are both wondering whether they would have to upload any documents to the CSS profile when completing it, and what sort of documents they should have ready on hand for that.
They would be. So you'll get a good list of all of the documents that you're going to need, but it's basically tax documents, bank statements, anything having to do with loans, mortgages, things like that. Any paperwork associated with any of your finances, you will need upload a PDF of it with a notarized English translation. All of that gets uploaded at the end of the application. You'll see a spot where you can upload all the documents.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your answer, Matthew. And while we finish off the session, I would just like to ask, are there any more advice you would like to share with our students, or just parting words of encouragement to the students here with us today?
Yeah, it's really important when you're applying to universities in the United States that you share what your passion is. And I'm sure you hear this a lot from Education USA all the time, but it's really important to be unique and to be yourself. And it's not about being someone that you're not. It's very much about being who you are and all of the wonderful things that you're doing. So make sure that shines through, both with your classes that you're taking, all your extracurricular opportunities, and then when you have an opportunity to talk about yourself in these essays and your letters of recommendation, really make sure that's an opportunity where you're really shining through what it is that inspires you and why you would go through all of the trouble to come to the United States to study.
Yes, thank you so much, Matthew, for your wonderful words of advice. And to our lovely students with us today, I would just like to say, keep believing in yourself, keep persevering, and you will be sure to make your dream a reality. Education USA is here with you 100% of the way, and we are here to support you, to encourage you, and to be your sense of motivation and your source of information on all things related to your study. So make sure to follow us on all of our platforms. Do not hesitate to reach out to our lovely advisors. It's our number one duty to help you and to assist you in your studies. And we, of course, wish you the best of luck on your journey.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Matthew, and stay safe and stay with Education USA. Bye.
Bye.